something's changed. Avengers Assemble! Could you say that again into my phone? I want to make it my ringtone.
Marvel's Avengers Assemble, coming this summer to Disney XD.
Hey guys, welcome to another new Rascal Reviews for Superhero Month. And today we'll be covering the should have never been made Avengers Assemble TV series. And joining me is Mama Entertainment or SoFab.
Hey everybody.
Yes. Really want to cover this one on the channel because last year I did Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, considered one of the greatest Marvel animated projects, and it's been praised for years and still talked about to this day.
Yes.
And then you get Avengers Assemble, which ended up being the replacement for Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and they just completely botched every single thing ever.
Oh. That's like your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man for Spectacular Spider-Man.
Oh, yes. Oh, and please don't forget to like, comment, and click the notification bell to get updates on any video I upload now. So I wanted you to join me on this because you've seen Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and it's okay. And that show was great. We're actually going to rewatch it at some point because It's been a while, but we really finally remember it and loved it because we ended up finding out that it stayed pretty close to what the original comic Stan Lee and Jack Kirby did, and they updated perfectly for the show, and we understand why it has a legacy still to this day, and now it's canceled.
And I even, for Superhero Month one year, I did my own version of the opening.
Yes, and that was super, super fun.
Yeah.
So this show was the replacement for Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Just a quick little information for you. They had canceled Earth's Mightiest Heroes and Spectacular Spider-Man and Wolverine the X-Men and some other show to make way for a new 7 animated series.
Three strikes.
Yes, for the MCU. And the goal of this was to revamp the animated series to be a sort of animated version literally of the MCU. And they take it so literal that almost everything that happens in here is something that's happened in the movies already, combined with some plot that doesn't make sense, has never been in the comics, to being one of the most embarrassing adaptations ever done for Marvel.
Definitely embarrassing. I could not stand looking at it. It was just terrible.
That's one of 1,000 problems.
Oh my gosh. And then I found it hilarious when I learned that each season had a different title. Like
yes.
That's going to help you to accept it more.
Yes.
It's not the same. First it was just Marvel's Avengers Assemble.
Yes.
But then it became Ultron Revolution.
Yes.
And then it became Secret Wars.
Yes.
And then it became Black Panther's Quest.
Yes. And it just kept going.
And out of all of those, I think the Black Panther's Quest is the only one I thought actually had potential.
Yes.
And was interesting.
Yeah, pretty much. And a big reason why they kept changing those titles because every season was some new arc. At some point they even started putting in multiple MCU phases into one season. Like at one point they just had you seen the Avengers. Season 1 admittedly is the least problematic out of all of them. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. It's just not as great as watching Earth's Mightiest Heroes. And the biggest problem is that they're trying to shove so much MCU stuff into here. Stop adapting comics. Stop adapting references to the older shows. It just wanted to be the MCU animated, right down to the designs and to the voice actors. And what they decided to do is, you had mentioned Ultron Revolution. Well, they didn't just do that on its own. It also combined, as you said, Secret Wars and Infinity War and Endgame and Civil War and Age of Ultron and all that. And they tried to do that all in about 1 or 2 seasons. They tried to fit 6 different story arcs all leading to the other, like they had finished literally in backwards. Infinity War first, then Ultron came in and took the Infinity Gauntlet, so he's now the bad guy. And it's like, how do you go from this arc to that arc backwards?
It's like, and I don't even think it was being over ambitious. It was
too much.
We don't have to be creative, and we don't have to think of anything. Just throw everything into it.
Oh my
and you don't have to learn anything. just take what we got already.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
Pretty much. And the worst part is that they had a few ideas and episodes that were actually interesting you hadn't seen before. Like one where Tony was actually turned into a child version of himself, and there was a lot of things he couldn't do because he was not... yes, and he was not an adult, but they did not really go all the way on the idea because he was kind of the same as he was an adult as a kid. I mean, he was kind of like 40 years old his whole life, technically, like Artemis Fowl.
Justice League did it better.
Right. And another one where you sort of had a dip into Hawkeye's backstory with an old crime gang he used to be with, which was interesting up until the end because it ended up not mattering because his character did not change by the end. And when they were also addressing these villains that were coming into the story, again, they were just sort of flash in the pan, adapt these villains as soon as possible. The first one you had was Red Skull, and you're thinking Captain America is dead, because in this universe, for some reason, the Avengers disbanded. They never tell you why. They, I guess, had a falling out, and they just stopped speaking to each other, which they seem to like doing a lot.
Yeah.
And they come back because they want to defeat Red Skull for Captain America, because they think he killed them off, so they want to at least save his memory by defeating this villain for him. And then you find out, it's not a spoiler because it's stupid, you find out by the end, he didn't kill Captain America, he actually took him, and he's planning to put his consciousness into Captain America, and become Captain America, and have the super soldier serum.
She went Transformers.
And that was literally the plot, to have his power. And then Captain America in Red Skull's body, and it was just like, what are we doing? Then, after that failed, they wanted to be Iron Man! They wanted to be Thor! Like, do you just want to be an Avenger? Just be honest.
Yeah, he's like Prince's, more bucks. He should have asked his daddy. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. And then the Black Panther season.
Yeah, which was the final one. It should have
And
been.
it still involved Captain America.
Yes.
Being accused of something he didn't do.
And then what's even worse is that T'Challa acted a little out of character. He acted like he kind of had disdain for Captain America and Iron Man.
Yeah.
And considering this is supposed to be some parallel to the MCU, this is not how the character acted.
Right.
And we understand that this is also before Chadwick Boseman's passing. So it really isn't in character for this character at all. I know I'm saying it twice, but I'm doing it on purpose. He sort of had this sort of attitude with him, and we were saying what was wrong with him. Did he not trust him? Or did something happen in the show that we skipped over that they have this sort of tension, or is Black Panther not see him as an equal? It was a very odd thing to have this guy that supposedly wanted to have open arms with his kingdom and everything, and he kind of looks at the two leading Avengers like they're pieces of crap. And I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it. And I guess it kind of leaves at the end of his story, but the fact that he sort of hates them and you don't know why just doesn't fit. Then you had a thrown in storyline where he had a brother, yes, the brother White Wolf, which I know probably caused tons of controversy at the time because it was like, why did they let him in?
And then they wanted Shuri to take over the kingdom.
Yes, I don't know why, which I guess was preparing us for Wakanda Forever.
I think so, yeah.
Now that we think about it, it's like, hey, yeah, she's going to take over and take it or leave it.
Leave it.
And we wanted to cover this because we love a lot of the old Marvel animated series. And we see this has started a whole chain of them just spinning out as much content as possible. Nothing of this show has any staying power. Nothing was memorable about it other than it being really poor and really not as good as the other series. Even down the animation where you kept saying it looks so bad. It looks like they just pasted them, right?
Yeah, it wasn't. The first season, I think the animation was the worst.
Yeah.
By the time it got to season 5, they had improved.
Yeah.
I'll give them that. But that first season, that first episode, it was like an offense to my eyes.
Yeah.
And I remember I kept saying, this is bad.
Especially there's no color. When you loved how the original had a lot of vibrant colors, they looked very unique. It had a great soundtrack. They made it look unique and like you were seeing a comic book come to life. This just looked like they were just wanting to get this out and want to be taken seriously without any of those bright and flashy colors, and they wanted to really muddle down to take it seriously, which really makes no sense to do.
That doesn't even look like a comic. And that's one of the things when you look for when you're watching any animated series. You want vibrance and color and life and it to be attractive and interesting and eye-catching. Well, looks like Marvel got Disney-fied yet again.
Yep, this was around the time they had bought them, and you saw already influence was beginning. And the last thing to mention here is that they tried to make an entire animated spin-off universe out of Avengers Assemble. They tried Guardians of the Galaxy series, which was just as boring. I mean, you like be able to have these characters be animated, give them that. But the big issue was that the Guardians of the Galaxy were different Avengers Assemble in 2 seasons. They look like the original versions from the comics and the other series when you see them. Then they come back season 2. They're entirely different characters because they had to match up to the live action version with Chris Pratt. So suddenly Star went from being a commanding leader Optimus Prime to Chris Pratt because his entire thing had to be rehauled, and no one said a word like, why are you all different? Why do you have different members? Because they had to pretend that the other version didn't exist. And then you had the Christmas movie, which was okay. You had several of these spin-offs in the same universe. The Hulk and the Agents of Smash, which was like stimulus overload with it trying to be all over the place with all its action, making Hulk have his own team, which makes no sense.
Right.
And
he's antisocial, but he has his own team.
Well, as long as they're like him, which is saying a lot for him. And Ultimate Spider-Man, which I've heard was despised. I've never seen it, but it fell into the same category. And in 2017, I don't know. Some people liked it, some didn't, depending on who you ask, but it didn't really make an impact on people either. So it's just really sad that they went from having really great animated series like DC to having ones that you kind of could take or leave.
I have to say probably the best part of this series were the voice actors.
Yeah.
Including Laura Bailey. And Troy Baker was interesting because, he also voiced Batman.
Yeah.
In a couple movies. So he was, working both sides there.
Right.
Marvel and DC.
Right.
You had Adrian Pasdar, which I thought was really interesting because I remember him from Heroes.
Yes.
Playing Petrelli. And I was stunned when I heard him.
Yeah, that was one of their big names.
Bumper Robinson, Roger Craig Smith, Fred Tatasciore, Travis Willingham, and Mick Wingert the last 2 seasons.
Yeah. And it's saying that their voice talent kind of went to waste because you don't remember much from the show unless you happen to be one of the people that end up being a big fan of it just because, good on you. But I didn't.
The show lasted 127.
Me
episodes.
Either. They just kept it going.
Yeah.
And I just didn't like it. Most people didn't like it. I think we just watched it because, it was on until you realized there was something better. But the good news is that you can always go back and watch Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Yes.
On, you can't do it on DVD because they refuse to. You can find it on a streaming service like Disney Plus, or try to go to another site and watch it, or preserve the episodes yourself so that way you can go to it any time.
Absolutely.
So thanks for joining me on this one, as you're going to be and you're going to be on other ones as the month goes on every Saturday. It's going to be really, really fun. And I hope you enjoy covering these topics as much as I do.
I do. I'm looking forward to you. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
And be sure to subscribe to my entertainment/SoFabs channel to have lots and lots of different diverse content, including hacks, videos, tips, reviews, and even some mashups here and there.
Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you all.
Yes. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.